lovely wife, Jeannie Moran, and we're happy to be here. And honey, why don't you say whatever it is you want to say to the world through this podcast?
Hi.
Boom. That's all for this episode of Man vs. Marriage. No, I'm kidding. So definitely want to welcome you to the program. Audio listeners, if you are listening on audio only, know that you can go to our Facebook page. You can go to our YouTube channel and you can see the video. And the video is so much more impactful because you get to see me wearing this Alabama Crimson Tide lid, and it is awesome. You also get to see these shirts that we wear. Jeannie's wearing an Alabama shirt today.
It's game day shirt.
And so make sure that you go to our YouTube, which I will link in the comments. And actually, if you go, when you go to, here's a new feature, at least it's new to me with Captivate, where I publish the podcast. If you go on our website, it has a link embedded so you can go straight to the YouTube. So go to quincymoran.com, click on Man vs. Marriage, and that's where all 300 and after this 17 episodes will be. And we have video connected to probably the last 6, 8, 10 videos, which I'll be doing from here on out. So thank you for being here. And just know that you can get in touch with us at Quincy at mvsmpodcast.com. That's like Man vs. Marriage, MVSM. So it's Quincy, QUINCY, MOR. No. QUINCY at mvsmpodcast.com. And if you were watching the video, you would see my face in utter disgust for myself.
I think your coffee has worn off.
There's never enough coffee, so yes, I will probably get another one.
I'm thinking your coffee has worn off because you're stumbling over your tongue over there, buddy. Want some?
Be sure to go to quincymoran.com for more. And later, I don't know when you're listening to this, but if it's in the latter half of 2024, what's coming up is a download for our top 5 pieces of advice on marriage. It's going to go a little bit deeper, and it's going to actually give you what I would call is a roadmap to implementing these things into your life. So the podcast, the audio, the video, that gives you one piece of the pie. And I just don't know what to call this thing. I got to figure out what am I supposed to call it? It's like a downloadable, it's a graphic, it's an instruction guide. That's what it is. Your instruction guide to the top 5 pieces of advice from Quincy and Jeannie Moran after 25 years of marriage. If you want to get that when it drops, email Quincy at mvsmpodcast.com. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you contact us. Now, you may be asking yourself, who are these people that I'm listening to? Maybe this is your first time listening to the program. Number 1, I want to welcome you and say thank you for listening. Number 2, this is number 5 of 5. So there are 4 episodes that predate this that will give you the 5 rounded out. And I think it's important that after I'm done telling you this, you pause and go back and start at number 1. It'll actually be 6 because we discussed them overall. But 1, 2, 3, 4, this is number 5. They are out there. So go check those out. It's number 1 is like, where do I start? Number 2 is about communication. And we give you 5 additional or 5 aspects of communication that we feel helps us. I mean, when we planned it out, it's like, these are the things that help us the most. Marie. And then number 3, sexpectations. How to start the conversation about sex and what your expectations as a couple are. Number 4 is about what do you really want to create? And that is your house rules and your family values. And number 5 is this. It's where we are. So yeah, we told you we're married 25 years. We have 8 children. 3 of our children have special needs. About 15 years ago, Jeannie and I were, I don't know, maybe it's that decade mark for everybody, but we had autism diagnosis. We had financial duress. We had medical issues going on that would just.
We had baby 8 on the way.
And we had baby 8 on the way. Oh, that'd be about 16 and a half years ago. But we got to the point financially where, thank God for the church. We were eating out of a food bank, almost lost our house. And then we had also found out that our children were being molested by babysitters. It was a very challenging time in our life and in our relationship. And we were in full on survival mode. And so we were more like roommates than we were like a married couple. And we went to a marriage seminar, and they asked us to rate our marriage. And Jeanne and I did not rate our marriage at the same number, which historically, I guess, is how it goes. The husband usually rates the marriage higher than the wife. And so what's the goal? Is the goal to bring the higher number down to the lower number? Or is it to bring the lower number up to the higher number? Is it to bore your wife so much on a podcast that she yawns?
I can't help it. I'm sorry.
It's weird because it doesn't happen much before the show starts and we get on the show. No, I'm picking at you anyway. But with that being said,
my energy drink is still in the cup. It's not doing the energy yet.
Oh, we need to play that song. Shot, 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 shot. So
save that for the LSU game. I might need it.
So with that being said, we decided, Jeanne started getting some coaching one-on-one. And then it came to the point where Coach Rita, who was her coach, said, hey, for this to work, we're going to have to bring Quincy in on this. And Jeanne was apprehensive. She didn't really think I was going to do it. I'm paraphrasing there. She can give you the details if she wants. And lo and behold, when I came in, we started doing the work and our lives changed dramatically. And so about 10 years after that, our relationship had progressed to a point where it's like, I need to pay this back. I've got to give back. And so I was not, when we began this, I was not the best version of who I could have been. I could have shown up better as Quincy Moran, could have shown up better as a husband. I could have shown up better as a father. I could have shown up better as a professional, but I wasn't. And so that started my road, taking personal responsibility. That started my road into redefining my life as a man. And in turn, it affected in a very positive manner, sometimes challenging, my family as a whole. Because I wanted to become the man that God had for me to be. I wanted to honor this gift of life by living my life to the fullest every day. But I also wanted to become the man that my family deserved. Because I'm the one who stood up in front of everybody and said what I committed to do. Jeanne did that for herself. And so that was the transformative time. And now we're going on like year 7 of this podcast. And it's a sort of therapy for us to sit across and to have great conversations, difficult conversations, to hear about other people's journeys from around the world. And then for us to be able to impart some kind of wisdom or experience that helps move their relationship forward. The nuclear family is one of the most important things on planet Earth. I mean, it's an important part of furthering humankind and also impacting society in a very positive manner. So men, stand the bleep up and be men in your home. Be husbands, be fathers. And, I gave this advice to Jeanne one time, and it's because it was given to me in prayer. And, the best advice you can give somebody is to be the example. Drop the mic, walk away. Are you being the example? Because that's the best advice you can give anybody. So with that being said, let's give you what you came here for, which is our 5th and final piece of advice, not in totality, but in the series on marriage. Oh my goodness. Jeez. Do I need to take you off the screen here?
I mean, I wouldn't say no.
Okay. All right. So I've got my handy dandy little notebook here, and we're going to talk about this. And what we're going to talk about is it's this, and we'll do our best to wrap this thing up here pretty quickly. But it's got to, number one, have impact. It's got to have value. It has to be practical. It's got to meet those three criteria. And this is about being intentional with your time, being intentional with your attitude, being intentional with your actions, and with the vision that you have for your family. And it has to start with you first, about being intentional about how you're going to live, but then also, how are we going to communicate? Are we going to check in? Are we going to be intentional about our relationship and planning what that looks like moving forward? And it was a real challenge for Jeannie and I because of me, number one, and because of you, number two. And here's why I say that. I'm the guy that overplans and tries to do everything in the world and make everybody happy. And just, I have so many things within my heart that I feel will be great that I try to do them all at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jeannie had been through that early on in our relationship. Early on, I was a part of a theater production company. My son was born. Just a few days after he was born, I was on stage and I was performing. I had an understudy. I should have just let the understudy handle it. But she came and, my family came and they watched the play. But I did not prioritize where I should have been. But that's because I was out trying to make something of myself in order to provide for this family we were creating.
You were a part of a lot of things at that point.
Yeah, I made mention of that.
That was just one aspect, but yeah, you were a part of a lot.
Yeah. And so anytime I would start talking about something or about the future, Jeannie's not wired in such a way where she can look too far into the future because it gets overwhelming for her. The way that I'm kind of mapped out is I like to look at the future and see what things can become, and then I will work backwards to figure out how to get there.
I used to be that way. And then we started having kids, and the kids started having complications, and the complications just kept coming. And that made it very difficult to see past what's next, because in my mind, I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
That's a very unhealthy mindset. Understandably
it is, but at the time, that's what got us into a lot of the issues that we had. Was I couldn't see past this week, let alone look at, Christmas is a month away. I couldn't get out of, we just got home from the hospital. Are we going to be staying home this time? I was very, very stuck in circumstance rather than what's coming, what's next. It took me a long time to be able to get past a lot of that. I still don't look too far ahead, but I am able to, we talked about this the other day, I am able to look a little bit further now and kind of not panic about it more. I still get a little overwhelmed in some things, but I'm able to kind of rein it back because I can put it just far enough that I can see it, but not too far out that it scares the crap out of me.
Well, I think what really helps is if you can navigate putting your strengths together with your spouse and maximizing the potential of both of those together. Like if you can bring those things into harmony, like your ability to look at what's in front of you and to accomplish it, my ability to look far down the road and see what it can become, and then for us to come back and to plan those things together and to put a piece of execution in there, and then to really walk it out with as much consistency as possible. And that can be a challenge for anybody, let alone people that have, our particular circumstances in life. But at the juncture where, we were hitting a wall, it's what I like to call the glitch. So I would start talking to Jeannie about life or about ideas, And she would come back with, yeah, but the glitch is, and I just got to the point where anytime I heard her say the word glitch, it just turned my guts. I couldn't stand it because I need to be able to expand. Not that I'm going there. I just need the opportunity to expand my horizon. So that became a point of discussion with Coach Rita. And she uses a phrase that, I'll use here in a minute, which is great because I've had to apply it to my own life. But I started to walk Coach Rita through the way that my mind would work through things, which is I get an idea, boom, I've got to go, just let me go all the way on a rocket ship, like up to outer space. Now, as I start to get, at some point you stop with liftoff, you stop accelerating to go up, and what goes up must come down. So the farther I get away from liftoff, I get closer and closer to the ground. I finally get back down to the clouds. And then as I get closer to Earth on this imaginary parachute, I start to unpack what it looks like, but at least I've got the exercise of going up to the clouds, running through this idea, and then slowly bringing back to reality. What is something that would actually work with it? Or was it a fun, exercise? Like mental exercise. And so Coach Rita, and tell me if you don't remember this, but I remember it because it was a big deal for me. Coach Rita was like, well, Jeannie, why don't you just go to the clouds with it?
I remember.
She's like, just go there. If you're not going to die if you go to the clouds. And so Jeannie and I began to use that as a buzzword. And I could preemptively say, let's go to the clouds, and then talk about this idea. And if she was automatically defensive like she was in the past, which is telling me the glitch, she started to really redirect that energy, and she didn't show it like she did before. And so then we both would practice going to the clouds. And there was a time in our relationship where I said, hey, let's go to the clouds. We agreed to go to the clouds, but I'm the only one that brought the parachute down. And Jeannie stayed in the clouds, and that caused a bit of a rift between us. And that's where we were going to go buy that house. Mm-hmm. I don't know, we were going to buy like a $400,000 house. And then we were talking about doing some kind of $100,000 renovation to it or something. And I was like, you're supposed to be down here. You stayed in the clouds. But it was a good experience for us because you had the awareness that, I stayed in the clouds. I didn't come down. So talk a little bit about that experience from your perspective. How do we use or incorporate it now? What value do you find in it? And then we'll bring this around to how we use it to plan our future. And then we'll talk about our discussion on.
Talk about how it affected me when I went up and we didn't come back down together, or when
from the beginning of if you can go back to that time and just think about what kept you from going to the clouds, what kept you in glitch mode, where did the whole glitch
because you
thing
had
come
a
from?
Crap ton of things. If anybody you knew came and said, Quincy, I got this business idea. Quincy, I want to make this. Quincy, I want to do this. Quincy, I'm going to lose weight. Quincy's like, I'm going with you. I'll help you. I'll do it. Whatever you need, I'm the go-to guy. And it deflated me to no end because your time's going to go to this person, and your time's going to go to this person. Your time's going to go to this person. And it presented a glitch for me because that meant everything going on in our home, you were not going to be a part of because you were going to be serving all these other things. And so I shut it down. As soon as you would start talking, nope, this isn't going to work because you're not going to have time to do this. You're not going to have money to do this. You're not going to be able to do that. And Rita said that, I'm right in my thinking in why I thought the way that I did. The problem was, if I would have just let you go there and kind of reason it back, you would get to the ground and realize, yeah, that probably won't work for us. But it was hard because you had already told people, oh, I'm going to help you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do, and you always felt bad because if you had to say no, you felt like an a-hole.
Yeah, but I felt incapable at times of saying no to people.
And we struggled in the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because that was part of your personality, was to help. And I guess people please is the way to put it, because there were certain people that you just could not disappoint. And that was hard. Yeah. Because at the time, the kids and I were not the person that you couldn't disappoint. And so Rita used the cloud exercise and then later explained to me, you know, it's a joke in marriage sometimes where you let the husband just come up with all these ideas and you talk to him about things and you kind of make him feel like it's his idea. It's an ongoing thing. My mom does it all the time. I think it's hilarious. She's not really doing anything. My dad knows what he's doing, but it's just a joke. Well, just like, let him go to the clouds. Let him just, every angle of the idea, let it all come out, and then let him reason back. Well, in order for me to make this many shirts, I would have to have the equipment. It would be better if we had the equipment than to have to pay for somebody. It's cheaper. And then you look at the cost of the equipment, and I don't want to pay for the equipment either. So all these different things that came about eventually came down to, well, maybe I could just design for them and then they can do their own thing. Or, you know, we look at a house and we've talked for years about where we wanted to live, what kind of home we want our forever home to be, what we want things to look like. I think that is the only true place that we have gone to the clouds together. And we always visit the same place and we always come down at the same place. But everywhere else, we kind of have to, we just have to let the other person let the air out of the balloon. It just is what it is. But it took me, gosh, I would say probably at least 3 years before I was able to actually go to the clouds with you and stay there and enjoy and not freak out that, oh God, he's got another idea, or oh Lord, somebody else has got us doing something.
Well, I think the reason that is because I needed to build some credibility, that I wasn't going to go off and chase another thing.
Yeah.
But I still needed the opportunity to be creative and go through the exercise. We didn't know how to communicate that to each other.
No.
And so what we did is we just kept banging our foreheads against each other. Because you're like my number one, you're my favorite person. And here I am telling you about what I think is a cool idea, and you just shut it down immediately, which doesn't incentivize me to come back to you. It incentivizes me to go find someone else to share these, exciting things with. But I'd rather share them with you. Mm-hmm. So learning how to compromise in a sense, or to better understand what your spouse is actually doing or saying, I believe it holds a significant amount of value, because now we can go to the clouds together. I mean, you said it yourself. We can take trips there together. Now, sometimes we might not, nobody says there's a perfect science to it, but at least we can get together and dream together about what our future would be. Or if we want to, say, move from one state to an entire new state, we can go to the clouds and say, well, if we wanted to do this, these are the things that we would like to have. This is where we would like to be. This is what we want to do. And ultimately, if you can both go there and you can see that, you start to build some sort of belief behind that. And so when it comes to fruition, now you can look back at success and you can plan and build off of the successes that you've had in the past. Mm-hmm. We did that. We did that with
maybe I just need more oxygen. Who knows?
Yeah, we did that with your book writing, and we learned another tweak from Ed Milet in what he calls touching your dream. So you can go to the clouds, then you can put an action behind it, which is to go touch your dream, And then you can watch it play out until it becomes reality. The way that we did that with getting your first book and your second book, getting those published, if we take that approach and we apply it to the areas in our life, in our future, where we want to be intentional, which is what this is about, we will see the same success. I believe that it's going to be bigger success, or let's say greater success each time we do it, because now it's not uncharted waters. Now it's not something that's unfamiliar. So in order to be intentional about your future or about your relationship or about your life, you first have to know what it is you want. If you don't know what it is you want, then what are you going to be intentional about? Where are you going to set your sights? Where is your target? So for you, you wanted to publish your first novel.
Mm-hmm.
We had the point. For us in this podcast, I wanted to positively impact lives, marriages, culture. We have people that are a product of that. Like, people's lives have dramatically changed, and their relationship, to the point of where it's almost unrecognizable. And that's where the value of this fifth piece of advice is, because you want to align your hearts with your future. You want to be able to understand when your spouse is getting nervous and starting to self-sabotage. And then you can come alongside and help him or her move the process forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, to its core, what being intentional is about. Hey, what do we want? The question that Jeanne and I are struggling with right now to answer, we have been for over a year, is what do we want more of? Because I think our limiting beliefs are not allowing us to go to the clouds in this area. So we need to simplify it. I overcomplicated it. Like I say, I wanted to write something down that was so profound that it would change my life. When in all reality, all I need to do is find one or two things I want more of. And when I find those things, or when I identify those things, now we have a target that we're pointing against. And it's like, okay, well, let's go to the clouds to figure out how we get more of this. Mm-hmm. Then let's take our action step to go touch the dream. Then we will walk the journey to get it done. And I'm just going to be very candid. This all didn't make enough sense to me until this moment right now. Like, in the moment, mm-hmm. I'm learning along with you. This is what we need to do. It's the KISS principle. And it's what I've been leading my life with for the last 3 years. Keep it super simple. I do tend to overcomplicate it, but keep it super simple. If you keep it super simple, you can make action. It's attainable. Go touch your dream. Go after it.
Okay, you need to explain what touch your dream is, because some of these people might not know what you're talking about.
Okay, you explain it.
So what we did for Touch Your Dream is the things that we want to do. Like for Quincy, he wants to make an impact in people's lives. And one of the people that he looks up to the most is Ed Milet. One of the people that he listens to on a regular basis and gleans off of the things that he teaches was Ed Milet. So I found where he was going to be in town and bought tickets for us to go see him speak and tell his testimony live. Very, very different hearing it live than it is watching it recorded. I will say that, because the day that we saw him do his speech, he was having a really rough day. And it was, I think it was because he went golfing, or he was supposed to go golfing, and it just made him really think of his dad, and it just put him in it just made him miss his dad, and it made telling the testimony and how he did what he did harder that day, because he just really missed his dad. But it also was one of those moments where we got to see that even though this person is looked up to and he does all these great things, he's still very much human.
Mm-hmm.
And he deals with his emotions the same way we do. He goes through the things that we go through. Through that, we looked at another process, a form of income, because that's one of the things that Quincy is very intent on, is trying to find multiple streams of income, because we want to leave something behind for the family. We want to leave something that they can hopefully live off of and take care of their families, and then they can do what they love rather than being stuck in a job that they have to do.
Let me clarify that just for the sake of it. I have an abundance of children, and the majority of them are highly capable of going out and paving their own way.
There are a few that are not.
And
those are who we want to.
Our two oldest, not only do I want to be able to hand some financial security down to all of my children, I definitely will provide for my two oldest children. I do not want them to be a financial burden on whomever takes the role on of care for them once Jeannie and I pass away. Or say, God forbid, I go first. Not that I'm asking you to die, but neither one of us want to go first, and we just ice out in our sleep, at 150 years old or whatever. But I don't want it to be a financial burden on her, or heaven forbid the reverse happens. I don't want it to be a financial burden on myself to get in the way to giving them the best care that they can have, because they cannot care for themselves. So that's definitely part of the mission. So please continue.
Well, but what ended up happening is we went to this thing, we went to another seminar that was stemmed off of that one, and it would have been a stream of revenue. But as we got into it, we were all for it. And then as we got into it, we started talking about it. We actually kind of learned that this is not our way, because we have some things in our marriage that we needed to fix before we could commit to this type of financial burden. Because it was going to take money to start it, and it was going to take time, and it was going to take a lot of learning and things of that nature. And both of us have so much already on our plate. We couldn't commit for certain that we could put the amount of hours that were required to start it up. And so that put us back to, we touched part of the dream when we went to see Ed Milet, and we got something out of that. But we also learned something about ourselves and our marriage in the process.
Yep.
For my touch the dream, wanting to be an author, wanting to write, wanting to know what that looks like all I knew was people write books and they throw them up on Amazon. Okay. But as I started finding out that there were signings and things like that, Quincy and I went to a couple of signings, and that's where everything kind of shifted for me, was that I want to be able to, be among my people, so to speak, and have a good time and swap stories. And it was just a very different community of people, and I fell in love with it. But in that, I also made connections and friendships that are helping me do what I want to do and making it come to fruition. So the second side of touching our dream is, which I didn't even think about it until last night. We went somewhere for our anniversary, and we went to a hockey game, and we went to stay in a hotel overnight. That hotel was, I walked in and I'm wearing a hoodie and a pair of jeans. Like, I'm talking fluorescent green construction worker, bright hoodie and a pair of blue jeans. And the bellman that took my stuff to the room is wearing a button-up shirt, nice slacks, dress shoes all shined up. I mean, everybody in this place is dressed nice. The people that are walking around that are visiting, they're all pantsuits. Women are in power dresses, and I'm over here going, oh, I think we walked into the wrong place, buddy, because we don't usually stay in, high-end hotels, so to speak. And then the guy that was taking our stuff up to the room started explaining to us that it's one of the oldest hotels. It's got all these towers. It's got over 1,000 rooms. They have all kinds of conventions and this and that. And it's one of the places where they house athletes and things like that when they come into town, things of that nature. So it was just kind of like one of those, oh crap, we stepped into somebody else's backyard, man. I don't know what we're doing in here, but we had points. So we used them when we got the room, and the experience for us was, dude, we need to do this again. This was like one of the best places we've stayed. We didn't have any interruptions. There weren't people running up and down the stairs or up and down the ceiling. We couldn't hear the people in the room next to us. I didn't even know the cleaning lady was in the hallway. When we left the next morning, I didn't even know they were in the room next to us cleaning. Like, there was no sound. And I was thinking, okay, if y'all added a bathtub to that room, perfect. Would have nailed it. But it was just one of those moments of, this is more than what we would normally do, but I really enjoyed it, and it was really nice. And that's something that I aim for us to be able to do more. Not just because it's not a money thing so much as I'm tired of us settling for what's okay. We could do better. If we want to, we can have better.
Yeah.
It's just, what are we willing to do to have it? And seeing that and feeling that and having people talk to you, like you actually belong there, even though you're wearing a t-shirt and blue jeans. I was not wearing my puck off shirt, so that's a good thing.
I don't care what it looks like. I belong there.
That's just it. It felt different. It just felt different this time.
Well, too. And I mean, it's really nice, that I can use points to get a hotel. And funny enough, it wasn't like a wicked expensive hotel. It wasn't like the Ritz.
Well, but we did get the upgrade because of your.
Yeah, it wasn't like the Ritz. It wasn't, and when Jeanne and I talk about our experiences in a hotel, I mean, we've been in the throes of romance, making love, and somebody bangs on the door at 1 a.m. And it's like, who are you?
Well, we need you to sign this piece of paper from the front desk.
I'm looking through the people going, no, I'm good, man. I'm good. He's like, but I need you to sign this paper. And I finally had to call down the front desk. And it's like, you didn't read the moment. What are you doing? It's 1 a.m. in the morning. Do you know what we're doing in here? We don't have the kids. Anyway, it's nice when you get to travel, to get the hotel experience where there's not teenage baseball players running around the room and screaming and having a great time like they want to.
I'm all for everybody having a great time, but when we're on our getaway time,
yeah.
I don't have my kids with me for a reason.
Yeah. So any number of things that come with interruptions and things of that nature. And I booked that hotel because it has a concierge lounge and I get free crap.
Yeah.
So I get free water, free coffee. I get free things. And I've learned that through traveling for business. But also, it was a nicer hotel. I do get a free upgrade. And then the bed is nice to sleep in. The room is nice. The experience is better. And Jeannie's about making memories, experiences in life. We're not the kind of people that have to have flashy things. But if you're on a romantic getaway for your anniversary, it's nice to have a great room that you're not being interrupted in.
And a bed that you don't wake up with a kink in your neck.
True. So, yeah, I think unintentionally, I booked a hotel because the lady told me on the phone that it had a bathtub, and I know you'd like to soak in the bathtub. But with that being said, there's a significant amount of power in experiencing touching your dreams. And what's the power? The power is to encourage yourself and to help you begin to believe it's possible. And going to see Ed Milet was a life-changing moment for me. Why is that? Because I feel when he's speaking, I feel like we share the same heart because we love people. Now, he's a dominant businessman. He's a type A personality. Excellence is it's like, this is the standard. If you're going to work for me, you're going to get it done. But his heart for people is not hidden. He loves people. He genuinely gets excited with whoever is in front of him. And it's like, I relate to that. Because whoever you are in front of me, I'm excited about you as a human being. And he wants to help people. And so going to do that, it also made me believe, as great as a speaker as he is, it solidified in me that I can do that.
Well, and we learned too, like this past year, we went to Hawaii with some friends, and for Quincy, that was one of those, we're going. It's an experience. I want to do it. We've never done it. We don't know when we'd ever be able to afford to do it. So we went to do it, and
they paid for us to go.
They did, yeah. But the thing is, for me, that was their dream. That was what they wanted, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with going along with somebody for the ride. But after the fact, I just kind of came back to, that's not something that I ever really cared to do. It's not something that was like high on my list of stuff that I wanted to do. And that's kind of where this stems from, is it's okay to experience things and go, I don't think that's part of our dream. I don't see myself getting a timeshare and traveling to Hawaii 5-6 times a year. It's just not my thing. But maybe taking the family 10 years from now, everybody goes one big trip and we experience the whole thing together. That might be something on my list, but this wasn't my thing. My thing is I want to be closer to my people. I want to be involved with all of my people as much as possible. And I want us to build things that we all want to do, not just, but there are parts that are just you and me. And that's the difference. We have, everybody tells you that if you have a dream, if you have something you want to do, you've got to figure out what it takes, and then you just work till you get it. If all you're doing is working and you're not spending any time going to the clouds to figure out what it is that you're working for, you're going to hurt yourself in the process. Either you're going to quit or you're going to get it and it's not going to be what you thought it was going to be, because you have no idea what it's supposed to look like. Yeah. It's not going to satisfy that thing inside of you that says, this is what I think it should be, but you don't actually take the time. Like the house, for example, when we started looking at buying this house, I stayed in the clouds because I was excited. We needed a new house. We needed a bigger house. We needed things done. And we had talked about maybe buying brand new. And I had my heart set on certain things that this house would have had. But then when we got into it, it wouldn't have worked. It would have been financially strapping. Quincy would have had to work more hours, possibly a second job. The kids wouldn't have been in the area that I wanted them to be in for school. I mean, there was all these different things that came up. And when I finally accepted that was a cloud, that was not our plan, then it was a lot easier. And when the house that we actually were supposed to have showed up, there was no question when we walked in the door that this is the house we're supposed to have. Mm-hmm. The backyard was huge. It was 2 stories. It was a big, huge, massive room that we could put multiple people in. Hunter and Kiki had their own space. And it was a very lived in, loved home by us for the time that we were there. Mm-hmm. That was our dream. That's what we wanted. When we went back through and said, okay, well, what are the things that we absolutely have to have? I want the kids to have space, but I want us to have the communal space where everybody hangs out. This house had a kid living room and an adult living room, and the kitchen was in between the two. And it was perfect because if we wanted to watch sports and they wanted to watch a movie, we were still around each other. We could still see what the other one was doing. We could pop in and out of the rooms together, but they weren't in their bedroom with a door closed and shutting us out. We were all still in the same space. That was important for me when they were younger. So if you don't know what you're looking for, you will settle for whatever comes.
Yeah. And so this, we'll wrap it up with this. The KISS principle, keep it super simple. Identify what you want more of. Set the goal. Touch the dream. And then map out the plan. That's what being intentional about your relationship is like. And I think it's important for you and I in our next check-in to look at the areas where we have touched our dream and we've accomplished X, Y, and Z. And we need to write those things and have them somewhere and then put the new stuff, like put the new stuff up and then put record of where we've already done it. Sorry, camera. You got my arm all in your face.
As he does it again.
I did that on purpose that time, but put it there. So when we look at those dreams that we're aiming towards, down at the bottom, it's like commentary to say, hey, remember when you've already done it.
It's what we do with Bubba. I don't have, this is, you don't give me this. And then everywhere we took him, we took pictures everywhere. And we put them up all over his bedroom. You remember when we went here? Do you remember when we went here? Do you remember when we saw this? Do you remember? Yeah. It's like, okay. It redirects your thought process, especially when you're starting to feel really crappy and it feels like you're stuck or things aren't happening, or, why does this crap keep happening to me? Yeah, but remember when we did this? And before we got to that, what did it feel like? What were we going through? What were the struggles? And then we got there. And now we're going to the next spot, and we might have to trudge through some mud to get to the next spot, but we got there.
Yeah.
So, it's your proof of your map, basically.
Let's make it a point to do that and to get it up in this office so we can look at it. Because we have successes that we can look at and that we can take care of, that we can map out and say, we've done this before, let's do it again. And so let's be intentional about that.
Okay.
All right. Any final thoughts?
The only thing I would say is taking this and using it with your relationship. I would look at, where do you see yourself? If you're going into marriage right now, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you plan your kids? Where do you plan buying a house? Where do you plan, where do you want to live? Is living near family more important for the short term or the long term? Are you travel people? Come up with those plans first, and then go to the clouds on all of them and see where you both land on it. Because chances are you're not going to be exactly even on everything. And then figure out what are the most important and start building a plan to stick to go together.
Yeah, and rely on your individual strengths to bring the plan together, to create the vision is what I would say. Mm-hmm. You do that, you'll be in great shape. All right. That's a good word, honey.
Thanks.
Sounds like you've been listening to me for 25 years.
In your words, I have endured 25 years. That's what you told me. 25 years of adoring you.
It's a little bit of both, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I love you.
I love you too.
All right. She's Jeanne Moran. I'm Quincy Moran.
And I love him more.
And that is a lying woman in your ears and in your eyes. Don't forget to email us, Quincy@Manvsmarriagepodcast.com. Go to QuincyMoran.com for those of you that are here and you can see the beauty that is before you. Go to this website, QuincyMoran.com/apparel. Go get some Man vs. Marriage. These are the shirts that we offer you. And man, I tell you what, you are going to look 33% more handsome and more studly in any shirt that I offer. So get after it. And that is all for now. This is Man vs. Marriage, the podcast.